But is there any restrictions on time? In other words, if they were called up for a week, no problem, a month, a year, is there any restriction in here?
There's no restriction on time. I see Representative Tarvin making some comments toward that. My understanding, I'll defer to the experts, is that they're not called up for that long a period of time. At most, it's probably less than a week, and it may be even shorter than that. But I'm yes, sir. Colonel.
Typically, we would have short deployments. With respect to time, it's not particularly relevant as far as private employers are concerned, because our facilities are not getting paid during the time they take off from work, so there's a strong incentive to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Public employees, we have a few members of police forces and governmental employees. They would get 18 days of paid leave, but they would be limited to 18 days of paid leave.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to pick up on that, Representative Defenbaugh, in answer to your question. This is a civilian organization. It's not like they're deployed overseas or on active duty for any reason. Most
Correct.
of the time, what they've been doing is things like if there was a state disaster or something like that. So you're probably looking at a 1 week maximum type of situation.
These members stay within the state of Georgia exclusively, to my knowledge.
When were they last called up?
When were they last called up?
I'll answer that one. For an extended period of time was last year during the ice storm.
Okay.
We utilized them this year during the ice storms as well for a couple of days at a time.
Is any other questions from the committee? Is anybody in the audience that wants to? Oh, yes, excuse me.
Senator, I appreciate you bringing this bill, and these guys do a lot of work on weekends for civic organizations, and you know they meet regularly, and I'm very much in support of as being a private employer. I would welcome something like this and let anybody off anytime they want to be, and I thank you very much for bringing this bill.
Thank you.
Motion?
Any other questions from the committee? You open for a motion?
Move to pass. Second.
Who? You moved to pass?
You got a second?
Got a second? All those in favor, if the passes, raise your right hand. Opposed? Looks like it's unanimous.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you,
very
committee.
much, sir. Thank you, Burr.
Thank you so much.
They got that. Yeah, all right. I'm very pleased today to have Brigadier General Joe Girard speak to us, and I think this was the first time that he's been here since he got his promotion. And he has got quite a long record here with the Army. He graduated from North Georgia College and State University and was commissioned as second lieutenant in the U.S. Army in 1988. He served in active duty for over 20 years, retired lieutenant colonel in April 2009. He has one thing in common with me. He was an artilleryman, I believe.
Yes, sir.
I shot a few of those myself in World War II, and we had, I think it was about each four battalions, I believe. Anyway, it was very effective and I think probably did as good as the German famous 88, I believe. So he's been on active duty for some time, and he's served at various places, and I'll let him tell you about that if he wants to, but he's received awards including the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star, Oak Leaf Cluster, Meritorious Service Medal, and so we're just real pleased to have him today to bring us up to date. We do this every year because I think I've said before, I was in the 35th Infantry Division, National Guard Division, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska National Guard, and General Patton picked us to lead his parade across Europe. I thought that was pretty good.
Yes, sir.
So we just tell us anything you'd like us to know, and answer any questions, if you will.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, committee members. I just want to spend a couple of minutes telling you a little bit about what the Guard's doing for you. And I'll start off with you have the best National Guard in the nation, in my opinion. And I don't say that because I'm standing here. I say it because of the hard work that all our citizen soldiers do on a daily basis. And I'll get into some of those metrics in just a minute. But we've got about 11,000 Army Guardsmen, about 2,800 Air Guardsmen, and then the State Defense Force is about 700 strong, and then we've got about 500 state employees that make up the entire Georgia Department of Defense. And I'll just start off with the State Defense Force because that was the topic just a minute ago. Can't say enough about how what they do for us. They really do. Not only do they answer the call when we need them during a disaster, but they if the FBI or GBI or local law enforcement has a missing person, they're the first ones that get to the scene to help out trying to search for individuals. Our pre-mobilization training that we do down at Fort Stewart, we couldn't do without their help. We've got a transportation company right now that is supporting moving ammo across the United States, and they help that unit get ready to do some of those type things. So really can't say enough about how much they mean to us and what they do for us, and don't know that we would be as successful as we are without them. So, and as you mentioned, they come at the right price. It's hard to find free anymore, and they're doing it as volunteers, and that to me makes them that much better. With respect to the Army Guard, we are one of the things that it was just announced about 2 weeks ago is the fact that the Army National Guard is going to stand up 10 cyber protection teams. These are about 39 people apiece throughout the states. And Georgia, they announced the first 3 states that were going to stand them up, and Georgia was one of those first 3. So we're very excited about developing that capability. Not only are we going to, that's not something that we intend to use as much for ourselves, but we hope to be able to use it to provide security for the state agencies as well as private businesses if possible. So they're still working out the authorities and so forth, but we are in the process of developing that, standing up that unit. And some of the people that we're going to do that with are guardsmen that already work out at NSA in Augusta. So very excited about developing that capability. And because we are one of the first 3 states to stand up that capability, that speaks to how well the Guard's doing right now. I will tell you that we just had, well, one day last, I don't know how many people I've told this to, and so I'm repeating it a lot, but one day last June, the 48th Infantry Brigade combat team had soldiers in 8 different countries on the same day. And so that just shows you a little bit about what we're doing. We're relevant and we're busy in today's environment. We just had about 30 soldiers come back from Jordan over the weekend. We had a brigade commander and some of his staff over there training a Jordanian brigade, and that's the Jordanian brigade responsible for the security of the Jordan-Syria border. So again, relevance. So the Army Guard is very good. We're authorized to have 10,192 soldiers, and we've got about 11,057 on the books. We're able to carry that about 900 extra because of the readiness of the Army Guard. And National Guard Bureau wouldn't allow that unless we were developing ready soldiers and carrying that readiness. We're the 8th largest Army Guard, and because our numbers are so good, they allow us to exceed the limit just so that our numbers help out National Guard Bureau as a whole. So your Army Guard's in great shape. It's spread out over about 60 armories and buildings throughout the state, and I'd ask you if any of those armories are in your district, please don't hesitate to stop by and tell them hello and let them give you a tour of the place. On the Air Guard side, primarily Warner Robins and Savannah. We've got several units, a few smaller units spread out. Other than that, down in Savannah, we've got the 165th C-130 Airlift Wing. Not only do we have the wing there, though, but we also have what we refer to as the Air Dominance Center, formerly known as the Combat Readiness Training Center. There's 4 of those in the Air Guard. We've got one Mississippi, Wisconsin, and I think Michigan. And so we changed ours to the Air Dominance Center. And what we mean by that is we've developed some capabilities there with secure facilities that F-22s and F-15s need to do some mission planning. And just last week, or 3 weeks ago, we had one of 3 exercises that are going to be taking place there this year. We only did one exercise there last year, but this year the ramp was full of F-22s, F-15s. We had Florida Guard participate, and South Carolina Guard participate, and Marines from Beaufort, South Carolina, all doing air-to-air combat over the ocean. The beauty of the location in Savannah is that as soon as those aircraft take off, they can be over unrestricted airspace out over the water pretty quickly. And then there's Townsend Bombing Range down there just southwest of Savannah that they can come in and drop live ordnance on. And so it's a great capability, but we brought those individuals here, and they're spending their money in Savannah and the local community during a training exercise. And so we're going to do 2 more of those this year, and we're going to continue to utilize that asset. But the 165th Air Wing continues to provide soldiers to the combatant commander and specifically CENTCOM right now, and so that we've got some of those individuals mobilized right now. In Warner Robins is J-Stars. I will tell you, I spent 20 years on active duty. I knew what J-Stars was and used it and was proud of it, but didn't realize that there is only one J-Stars unit in the United States military, and the Georgia Air Guard owns it. And so that capability resides at Warner Robins. It is 3 units make up that organization. The Air Guard owns the platform. An active Air Force wing also participates, and then there's an active duty military intelligence Army company that provides folks that ride on the back and talk to commanders on the ground as well. So that is a great capability. Warner Robins is very proud of it, and they continue to. They've been overhead in Southwest Asia since 9/11, and so there is not enough J-Stars. Combatant commanders continue to ask for more of it, but we can only spread them so thin. But another great capability that your Georgia Guardsmen are providing to the war fight, and not only to the war fight, but they also fly over the southwest border in Central America and support Southcom and so forth. So wherever we can utilize them, we are. And so another great asset. And so I'll wrap it up there with respect to all that we're doing. But we are very proud of our organization, and we've got a lot of great heroes and citizen soldiers that make up the organization, and not to mention our state employees that we couldn't execute without. And my final comment will be that our federal budget is about $500 million. Our state budget is $9 million. And so we pay over $25 million in income taxes alone. So you can see we're a pretty good return on the investment as well, bringing that much money into the state off of a $9 million budget. So with that, I'll stop and answer any questions.
Would you bring us up to date on Youth Challenge?
Yes, sir. Very good question. I ought to be ashamed for not mentioning it, because that is a great program that I am very proud of. And the Youth Challenge Academy, we have 2 of them in the state. In the current budget that is being passed, we hope, we're going to add a 3rd campus in Milledgeville. At each campus, we start twice a year with about 300 cadets, and normally about 200 graduate. So we're graduating about 800 cadets a year. And to join the Youth Challenge Academy, you have to be a high school dropout between the ages of 16 and 18. And so we're taking these individuals and turning their lives around and putting them on a constructive path to being a good citizen. And it is unbelievable the change in these students. If you please go visit them, if you ever have the opportunity, go to a graduation. You go to a high school graduation, you will have the occasional, yell and parents being happy and so forth. At Youth Challenge, at those graduations, that's normally the first thing that those students have successfully done in their life as far as completing something. And it is truly remarkable the turnaround that they have in their lives. And so we actually have, I think, 2 or 3 doctors and 1 or 2 lawyers that have made it through that program and gone on to further education and so forth. But it is a tremendous program, and we're so excited to be able to stand up a 3rd campus there in Milledgeville to get after some of helping the state change some of the youth and put them on the right path. So thank you very much for mentioning that, Chairman.
I was asked to make a speech to the graduating class one year down at Stewart, and the lady that sang national anthem was from my hometown, Griffin, and I asked her about it. I said, how did you get into this thing? What went wrong on it? She said, well, like all students, you know, she said she was amazed at how much her parents learned while she was gone down there.
I heard that. And it really is, it's very sad when you start talking to these kids because we're blessed. And I mean, you start talking to a 16-year-old girl who has been in 4 different foster homes. Yeah. You know, you don't know how they made it that far. And so, but it is a great program.
I think it's a great program. I have one more question. You know, throughout history, people kind of downgrade the Guard because of politics, but I went through some of that with 35th Division, of course, but it doesn't seem to be as prevalent in the Georgia Guard as I noticed it before.
Well, I think one of the reasons the Guard's so important is because if we did not have the National Guard, there would be a lot of people in this nation who didn't even know anything about the war that we're fighting, the war on terror, because it wouldn't be real to them. I'll tell you, 20 years on active duty, I never had too many cups of coffee bought for me at the gas station, mainly because everybody that I lived around was on active duty. I drive to Marietta to our headquarters at Dobbins. It's hard for me to pay for a cup of coffee in a gas station. And I appreciate that, but what that means to me is we've got a lot of patriots around here, but they realize because their neighbor's a guardsman and they know somebody who's a guardsman, and so it makes it real to the nation. And so that's one benefit, but I can't speak to why it's not so much political anymore. But I will tell you, I think the war on terror has changed the Guard significantly because we've been a primary player and a significant force as part of the force that went over there and has deployed numerous times. So I think everybody realizes the benefit of the Guard now.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how many people fondly regard the soldiers, the Guard, and so forth. Is there any questions, many committee members? You did an outstanding job, and no questions. You covered everything.
Well,
we're so glad to have you again. This is an annual thing, you know.
Yes, sir.
Think that it works better if we know what you're doing and you know what we're doing, and we're always ready to help you any way we can. You just speak up.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to represent our outstanding citizen soldiers, so thank you very much.
Please come back.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's it, isn't it? Yes. Has any member got anything to say before we adjourn? I thought it was a very good meeting today, and took care of the Senate and listened to an update here from a very fine soldier.
I've got one thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I don't think many people know it, but on March the 30th, there will be a commemoration on the North Steps. The governor will be involved, and it's the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. Lieutenant General Claude Kicklighter will be coming down from Washington. He's the point man for the 50th commemoration of the whole United States, and he just happens to be from my hometown.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I got the Vietnam Wall, a picture of it on my wall in my office. I call it my museum wall down there, and I went through the bad part of it in California, and I used to get so angry with seeing some of the bumper stickers and whatever. I wanted to get down there and paint them off, but because it was such a disastrous thing that they did to fine soldiers that were doing their job and nothing else.
But it's today we're in adjournment, so I don't have on the 30th at 9:45 in the morning on the North Steps.
That's too bad they put it on a German day.
I don't think they knew at the time, but they're inviting 2 members of each American Legion post and all the other VFW posts
Yeah.
from all over the state so that they can honor them.
Well, I'll be there, because certainly it's something worth commemorating. Any further questions? Anybody have? Thank you so much for attending, and I think we had a good meeting here, and we adjourned.